Hello, my name is Chris Rathel, and I would like to share with you a brief history of music broadcasting. Who would have guessed that an invention, which was meant for navigation of ships at sea, would end up being the vehicle used by musical artists worldwide to making millions of dollars? It took decades of developing technology for the radio to become a household and pocket appliance used by teenagers who love the enjoyment gained by listening to their favorite rock band. How did we go from the early ham radio, where the average person could play with the new technology of radio waves, to the incredible technology of today's iPods? It took from 1897 to 1917 for the first radio wave to be developed, from experimental short waves to long waves. The ability to transmit radio signals over great distances opened the door to creating radios that anyone could purchase at the local drugstore. The names Heinrich Hertz, Guglielmo Marconi, James Maxwell, and Thomas Edison are in our history books as those men who studied, experimented, developed, and created the early radio. These men, along with the telephone company AT&T, initially developed vacuum tubes as amplifiers for long-distance telephone lines. However, this was only the beginning of the device's versatility, as various scientists and inventors would develop numerous innovations, including efficient continuous wave transmitters, which would eventually replace the early spark, arc, and alternator varieties. The first song ever broadcast on shortwave radio was "O Holy Night," played on Christmas Eve, 1906. What was happening in the world of music in America in the early 1900s? The most popular songs people enjoyed hearing were "When the Red, Red Robin Comes Bob, Bob, Bobbing Along," and "I Wonder Who's Kissing Her Now." Folks across America were excited and thoroughly enjoyed the ability to experience their music via plays on Broadway, motion pictures, and gamophones. Animated cartoons that had been developed in the early part of the century. George M. Cohan, Florence Ziegfeld, and Irving Berlin were creating music which reflected the heart of America. The World's Fair was celebrated in St. Louis in 1904. People came from far and near to enjoy the spectacle and music. Imagine what happened when, after World War I, people could enjoy hearing this music in their homes. During World War I, the radio was primarily used for military communications. Following the war, the public was given access to the technology. There was a discussion about how radio broadcasting would be paid for. Should the public pay to receive radio, or could AT&T, who owned the biggest radio network, sell advertising and the general public could receive radio broadcasting for free? Eventually, in 1922, the patent rights of AT&T were challenged, and the public was free to have other stations that were supported by selling advertising to various companies. Music has always been a part of our culture. In the early 1900s, families would go to a nearby park to hear their favorite singer or musical artist. Concerts became popular by traveling from town to town. With the invention of the radio and the development of recording studios, artists such as Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Bing Crosby, Elvis, Dolly Parton, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and so many other musical groups could now have their recordings broadcast across America via the radio. The more popular the artist or rock band, the more often their recordings were broadcast. Teens could call the radio station requesting their favorite song. Today, teens are not limited to enjoying musical broadcasts via the airwaves on small transistor radios or the much larger boomboxes. They now carry the tiny music playback devices called iPods and MP3 players that hold hundreds to thousands of recorded songs. With the latest developments of the iPhone and iTouch, owners can now not only carry the music that is loaded on these devices, but also access the internet and play any song they desire. Musical artists are still earning big money on the royalties they make for their songs, whether heard on the radio or by teens purchasing the music on their iPods. We've come a very long way since the first radio, yet without that very important invention, music broadcasting could not have developed and grown into such a huge industry worldwide. We appreciate you joining us tonight. This is Chris Rathel, signing off. Have a great night.